How do you stay creative? I found myself in this position where I had tons of desire and pent up energy to create, but at the same time I was empty, feeling like I didn't have a single good idea for something worthwhile. This is a tough position to be in because it can quickly lead to you questioning yourself, your worth as a creative. I felt extremely compelled to create something, but I just didn't know what. I decided to lean into this frustration and just give it the opportunity to live. I just had to get out, fire off a few shots, and hope that it would make me feel better. How weird is it to live in a massive city and yet feel like I had no options? We all get caught up in seeing other people's work as more valuable than our own, when in reality, it's all the same shit. It's all as meaningless or as meaningful as everything else. Ultimately, the value just solely depends on how you choose to value it. This all led me here, the Thames waterfront. A nice cool evening, a calm sky, and a slow sunset. It didn't matter what I was going to shoot. Didn't really matter how they would turn out. Didn't matter what I'd think about the pictures. I just had to do it. Sometimes that's all you need. With no plan, you just go through the motions. You grab your camera, you load some film, and you start shooting. Here goes nothing. At this point, I was feeling real good. I liked the compositions that I was seeing through my viewfinder. I really love the calm air. Relaxing outside is highly underrated nowadays. It really means everything. So I had photographed this man and his dog from afar, and they happened to continue walking along the shoreline towards me. I immediately decided I should go and ask him for a portrait. Knowing I was going to be a few steps behind, I set up the camera in his direction, then I sped walk towards him to pop the question. Lucky for me, he complied, commanded his dog to sit, and pose for a photo. This single shot made my entire evening fully worthwhile. Okay. So I know I said that my images are as meaningful or as meaningless as any other image, but that all changes once I hit the darkroom. This is going to sound ridiculous, but there is something transformative about turning a negative into a positive and creating a larger physical image.
may still be meaningless or meaningful, but it is real.
What is good? I hope you enjoyed that video. I decided to try something a little bit different, change up the pace and kind of the styling of my typical video. And I hope you enjoyed the narration as well. Did a little bit of voiceover there to see if I could communicate something differently than what I usually do. I think the moral of the story for this video is you just got to get out and shoot. I feel like anytime I creep into those ideas in my head that maybe second guess myself or think through things differently and kind of start to value my own work and my skill set less than I should, I find that going outside and just doing photography is the answer. And it's not going to solve everything for you. It's not going to eliminate these ideas forever, but at least for the short term, right after you get out and do some photography, it'll lift your spirits and it'll make you feel good and it'll remind you why you like photography and why you choose to do it in the first place. So I think that that's, first and foremost what should be on everybody's mind when it comes to, doing photography. I just want to look at these prints really quick. I think I really want to call out this print right here. This was a challenging print because it was very low light and I was shooting into the sun, which is behind this tree right here. And, it's a very high dynamic range scene because you had really bright sky with a really, really dark foreground. And I actually metered this for the sky. Wasn't my intention per se, but that's kind of what ended up happening. And therefore I had a lot of low exposure here, but doing some dodging and burning, I was actually able to just expose this part of the print for, I would say, half of the total time. And then I'd cover that and just let the sky burn in for the other half of the time. And it gave me a fairly balanced print. You can still see here that this is definitely a bit underexposed. And if I had gone a little bit longer in the exposure on the print, then this would have been pretty dark because it was just underexposed to begin with on the negative. So there wasn't too much to play with there, but I think this is a nice balance. And of course I included the borders here. People ask about this a lot. And the holder that I have for my enlarger, the previous owner actually filed in the holder to create more space around the borders because the owner specifically wanted to show some of those film borders. So they did that for the 645 holder. They did that for the square holder as well. And therefore, if I print any images with those kind of negative sizes, you'll see the borders pop up if I choose to. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, this shot made kind of the entire outdoor experience worth it. I think it's very nice to kind of just be, in the moment and just be spontaneous. And I saw these people or this guy walking after I'd seen him in the far distance, and when he came by, I decided, you know what? Why not ask him for a portrait? What's the worst that could happen? And I'm very happy that I did so because ultimately, this is probably my favorite image of the entire bunch. And I just love portraits. Doing portraiture is always the most fun that I have because you get to interact with people and kind of just use your environment, but also have them contribute something to the scene. So very happy to have gotten this portrait. And I love how it turned out. It kind of just speaks to what was going on that evening. A nice kind of calm, quiet evening on the shoreline there along the Thames, and having random people like this kind of stroll in and out of the scene. And then the last print I want to show you is this one right here of the nighttime scene. Nighttime scenes are very interesting because you can always kind of choose the colors that you want. Here I went for a very deep blue. This kind of reminds me of what the experience was when I was there, and especially with the sky, I really love how that blue turned out. This might be a little bit aggressive for a lot of people's taste, but I think this is actually Fuji Pro 400 film, and that film really gives you pretty aggressive colors when it comes to the blue and like magenta-y space. So that's what I went with, and I like how it turned out. I did crop a bit because there were some people in the bottom here and some stuff sticking out on this side that I didn't really want in my image, so I cropped them out here and I just zoomed into the image just a bit. But I just love the mood. You got a nice cityscape line there, some bridges. I love the little pops of light that you see across the image. And then, of course, one single solitary person kind of in frame there, which I think is just interesting. So really happy with that. Overall, going out to shoot did exactly what I needed it to do. Not only was the experience great just to get outside and kind of walk around and use the cameras, but from my perspective, the images that I got in the end also are pretty nice. That shouldn't matter as much, and that's kind of the whole point of what this video was. It's just about getting out there and shooting no matter what the result is. But if you like what you're doing and you can kind of, see it in a good light, then of course that helps as well. So I'm happy that was the case. All right, y'all, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please go ahead and like, and of course, go ahead and subscribe. Until the next video, yo, peace.